Hello, good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning, or good whatever time of night or day it happens to be wherever you happen to be. This is Libiana coming to you once again with another installment of Republic News. In tonight's installment, I will be discussing a concept, well, actually several concepts, a rather powerful concept, in fact. That concept is the ideal of love. In order to preface this, I would like to refer you to an event which took place Thursday, the evening of the 7th of December, 2017. There was a man in California who was caught on a video camera or telephone camera or something, I don't know, rescuing a small rabbit from the wildfires that have been plaguing California recently. So the guy had stopped his car and jumped out when he saw the rabbit and was jumping around trying to get the rabbit to come to him, and so the rabbit did, and he took the rabbit back to the car, and that's that. And a lot of people were calling him a hero, and then there were, of course, people who were poo-pooing that idea and saying that this was a wild animal, you shouldn't have done that. Well, there were other people who were talking about how they had mixed feelings on the issue, and that the guy could have endangered himself and or other people in this attempt to rescue the rabbit. So I would like to discuss the concept of love, the ideal of love, which is actually several different concepts, related concepts. And I'm going to start this off by relating it to that event. I do not view what this man did as inappropriate or harmful to the rabbit. On the contrary, he probably saved the rabbit's life. He put the rabbit's well-being above his own, in a sense, or perhaps to some extent. When I was a sophomore in high school, back in the days when there were, still kings and no presidents, so to speak. Back some decades ago when I was in high school, my sophomore year, our English teacher was absent one day, and one of the other English teachers at the school had that period free. And so he came over and taught our class that day, our English class that day. He was a rather interesting fellow, a thinker. And one of the things we discussed that day in class was the meaning of the word love. He asked us all to define it, and he went around and asked each student what his or her definition was. When all of that was over, he either wrote his definition on the chalkboard or said it aloud. I don't remember. He probably did a bit of both, because he was a fellow who was one of the first people to teach me about principles of education, and he would often involve the students in asking them a question. Well, first, of course, he would give the lesson so that the student would hear the information, and then later he would ask. He would state it aloud, vocally, and write it on the chalkboard so that we were both reading it and hearing it. Later, he would ask us a question and we would answer, and by answering it, we were speaking the information. So, and then of course on the tests, he would ask the questions and we would write the answer ourselves. So that there was a fourfold process involved in the education there, as he was imparting it to us. So I expect that he wrote it on the chalkboard and stated it aloud. At any rate, he gave us a definition. And I don't know if this were his own definition that he came up with on his own, or if it were something he had read somewhere. He was, as I said, an interesting person, a thinker, very well read. He could have read this in university in a philosophy class. He could have encountered the idea somewhere. At any rate, he wrote this definition, or said it, or both. And the definition that he gave is one which I think to this day has significant value in terms of understanding what love is. So what he said, or wrote, or both, was, love is caring enough about another person to put their welfare above your own. I don't think that's the full picture, but I do think it's a major part of it. And of course, he was talking about romantic love. That would not be the same thing when dealing with the affection a human has for a pet or a wild animal such as this rabbit. The kind of affection which a human has for a pet is essentially the same as the human has for a member of his or her own family. And the ancient Greeks referred to this kind of love as storge. And this type of love also involves putting the welfare of another above your own. There are many cases of people who have given their lives to save a family member, even in some cases if that family member were a pet. In the case of affection for a wild animal, it's a little bit different because there is no such relationship as one would have with a family member. Instead, I would suggest that this type of affection is the same as what the ancient Greeks referred to as philanthropia, the meaning of which is rather obvious, since it is the source of our own word, philanthropy. It is a sort of disinterested compassion. It is caring enough about another to want good for that other. Now, of course, the original word, the Greek word, literally means friendship of humanness, or friendship toward humanity. The first part of the word is phile, which is the sort of love which one has for a friend. The second part of the word comes from the Greek word anthropos, which means a human being. And the last, the suffix, is simply a nominal suffix attached to a stem, often in order to make of it an ideal. Obviously, to the Greeks, at least if we take the etymology of the word as the extent of what they meant by it, such compassion as philanthropia would apply only to another human, because anthropos means human, a human being. But does it really? Does philanthropy really apply only to another human being? Do you not feel the same sort of philanthropic compassion for endangered species as you feel for a person in dire straits? When you see, for example, an animal which has been mistreated, an animal which you do not know but is still a pet, or when you see a starving polar bear, as in a video I retweeted a short time ago this evening, is that really a different feeling from what you feel when you observe a homeless veteran or the people of Yemen who are starving as a result of the Saudi Arabian war against them? You don't know those people any more than you know those animals, and yet there is a sense of compassion which arises, a desire or wish to be able to do something to help, a wish that things were better for that person or that animal. So I would say that the man in question, the man who rescued this rabbit, was acting out of love. Not romantic love, obviously. Not family love. He did not have any prior relationship with the rabbit. Not love of a friend, but the love that is known as philanthropy. He put the rabbit's welfare above his own. Now, as I said already, while I do believe that this notion, love is caring enough about another to put their well-being above your own, or their welfare above your own, while I do think that this is a major part of what love is, I don't think that's the entire picture, especially in terms of romantic love. Now, romantic love is a concept the Greeks theoretically did not have. Romantic love arose in the Middle Ages, amongst the troubadours of southern France, or so we are told, by some historians and anthropologists. But at any rate, romantic love involves volition, will. It is a choice as well as a feeling. You will to love someone in that way. You might have this feeling of attraction and camaraderie and so forth, but that's not really enough to build a life together on. There is also a willful choice that I choose this person. This is the person I choose to build a life with. It is different from family love because, with the exception of pets, and even sometimes then, and sometimes choosing to adopt a child, we don't ordinarily choose our families. We are born into them or adopted into them. And then, of course, there are children who are adopted older, and they have a say in whether or not they want to be adopted by this parent or couple. So we are born into or adopted into families. We don't really choose to feel philanthropic love either. It simply wells up from within, out of an innate sense of compassion for other beings. We do not choose friend love. It's something that we grow into with a person with whom we gradually become close. And sometimes such a person becomes more than a friend while still remaining also a friend. Sometimes we begin to feel a physical and emotional and intellectual attraction to that person. And this is the potential beginning of what we could call romantic love, that feeling or those feelings. But we can have those feelings or that feeling for a number of people in our lives without choosing to pursue something deeper. And there may be many reasons for that. In some cases, we simply don't choose to. But in those cases where we do not choose to pursue something deeper for whatever reason, those people simply become closer friends, usually. But then there is one who seems somehow different. It's not just physical, emotional, and intellectual attraction. It's something more. It's that friend love with that eros, the physical attraction. But it's also coupled with philanthropy-style love and mixed in with a choice, conscious or unconscious, to view that person as a part of your family. This is the only time, apart from when you adopt a child or pick out a pet, that you actually choose to make another person a part of your family. But it is also a choice that goes beyond simply making someone a part of your family. And of course, it has to be a consensual thing right? But so it's not simply that you make them part of your family, it's that you and they agree to become family. But it goes beyond that. And I say simply, and I realize that such a choice is not simple, but this is yet another level of choice. It is that choice to make that person a part of your family, yes. But it is also a choice to embrace all of these feelings of physical and emotional and intellectual attraction, of friendship, of family love, of philanthropic love, and more. It is a choice to make that person your bae, that is, your BAE, your before anyone else. So, this is what I think romantic love is. It is a feeling, yes, or several feelings, but it is also a choice. And that choice is to put that one person above anyone else in your life. Not simply to put that person's welfare above your own, but to select that one person to be the one person who is before anyone else to you, that one person whom you value above all others. And that is what I believe romantic love is. So, that's all I have for this installment of Republic News. So until next time, stay safe, have fun, but stay safe. This is Liviana signing out.